If I had the powers to do so, I'd probably pay a visit to the 2008 version of me, just to ensure that Valkyria Chronicles doesn't somehow slip through the cracks. Now unfortunately I haven't unlocked the secrets of time travel, but at least my present day self can be content in knowing that I finally witnessed the brilliance that is Valkyria Chronicles. Valkyria Chronicles is set in Europa, which works as kind of like a fictionalized stand-in for Europe during the 1930s. Here we have the Atlantic Federation and the East European Alliance, also just the Empire, currently fighting over the supplies of Ragnite, with a small nation of Gallia caught in the middle. Now the story is told through the book on the Gallian front, and focuses mostly on the actions of Squad 7, led by Lieutenant Welcome Gunther and Sergeant Alicia Melchiot. The game does a decent job of handling both dark themes and also lighthearted moments throughout the story. It clearly demonstrates many of the dark sides of war and even racism, while still allowing the main cast of characters to have their share of goofy scenes. That the members in Squad 7 have their own interests and can have fun between fighting in the war helps to flesh out each character. Rosie's character arc in particular has some really great payoff when you're able to see her start to open up throughout the story. My only complaint is that the story just takes a little while to get going.
The Edelweiss swims just fine. Fall in, Sevens!
The unique watercolor aesthetic in Valkyria Chronicles is just fantastic, and it works really well within the storybook presentation that the game is going for. I love how the different scenes are represented on each page of the book, and even the white border around the screen in cutscenes and missions helps to make it feel like you're looking through the pages of a book into the retelling of a battle fought long ago. That said, some of the preview images for certain cinematics seem to spoil some plot elements for me just a little bit too early, which I found a tad bit disappointing. Missions start with a briefing that'll highlight what you're going up against in each battle. Here you're able to deploy your units and set up who will be stationed at each of the base camps. Now Squad 7 is made up of scouts, shock troopers, lancers, engineers, snipers, and Welkin's tank. And each unit naturally have their own strengths and weaknesses, and will need to work in tandem to find success on the battlefield. Now in some fights you can use snipers to thin out the enemy forces as your scouts run on ahead, or in other situations you might need to deploy a larger number of lancers to deal with enemy tanks. And whatever the situation, the game is really good about setting up plenty of different scenarios that you can deal with in your own way. And once you've deployed your troops, the game enters into a turn-based mix between RTS and third-person shooter. Each turn starts with an overhead view of the map and current placement of each unit. You're given a limited number of CP each turn that can be used to issue commands to one of your units. And once a unit is selected, you'll then enter into an over-the-shoulder view and directly control that character. From here you can set up your positioning, fire upon enemy soldiers, or go for a stealthier approach if the situation calls for it. And while direct control over each character feels just fine, I will say that I found the tank controls to be a bit clunky. And once your turn is over, the enemy will then take their turn and the mission will continue until the victory or failure conditions are met. There's a lot of strategy involved in each mission, and the game does get pretty difficult near the end. Positioning is hugely important, and it's easy to screw up if you're not fully paying attention. And luckily the game allows you to save at any time, and allowing for you to call for medics on downed troops, especially troops that can be lost forever if they die, makes for an experience that's far more forgiving than it is frustrating. After battle, you'll earn experience and gold that can be used to train your unit classes and upgrade gear at headquarters. Now classes level together and weapons can easily be interchanged between people within the same class. Considering that certain people have unique traits that can be used in battle, I love that levels are shared as a class rather than person to person. This makes it easier to build Squad 7 from mission to mission in a way that best suits your needs and alleviates a good bit of grinding. Valkyria Chronicles is a deeply satisfying game and one that I really only have a few minor gripes with. By the time the credits rolled, I found myself completely wrapped up in a cast of likable characters, and I'm really excited to dig into the game's New Game Plus. If, like me, you never played Valkyria Chronicles on PlayStation 3, With the PC release just a couple years back, and the PS4 remaster coming out next week, there's never been a better time to see just what you've been missing out on.
Who are these guys?